Okay, now I will share how I would create a contract register using AI or Claude in this instance, and starting off examples of contract where we can demonstrate this. If your company doesn't allow you to use AI, I suggest you just create some dummy contracts like myself, and you can use Claude to actually create them. Creating a contract register is also quite simple. You can give a lot of prompts to Claude, or you can essentially start with giving some context. I am wanting to create a contract register. The contract register should include revenue, person in charge, date of expiry, price escalation clauses, company details, and maybe that should be fine. Help me create a prompt where I can just share the files and you help create a Excel contract register. This register can be used for forecasting and revenue tracking, as well as a tool for sales, for price escalation and contract expiring reminders. So like AI, you need to provide a lot of context, like who is it for, what is it used for, what's the output's gonna look like. It will give it and set some parameters which will be a bit better for it. Also, always try to ask them to ask any questions that you may have. I've always find that very useful. As you can see, let's have a quick look what it write about. I've attached, please, so talk about provide company, ABN, contract titles, person in charge. Okay, I think this is pretty good. You talk about a contract register, you want a dashboard, expiry tracker. Okay, so I think we can maybe just copy this. Come back here. Let's place this prompt here. We'll add the files from the folders. You can't actually see my folder at this point, but I previously created those contracts as I mentioned. I'll just attach all the contracts. And if you were to do this in your own company, essentially it's just the sales folders. And then you can see that there's all the contracts, nothing in particular order. And then we'll get Claude to give it a go again using the prompt that they have used. So while we start building, I do find in my previous experience, using AI can be as complex or as easy as it goes. Building a sales register, the main purpose again is to track price escalations and contract and also revenue potentials. From a finance perspective, this is kind of like the source of truth. It also can be used for margin accretive purposes where you know you can go out to get price escalations while keeping your costs the same, essentially improving your financial positions. Okay, so Claude has finished processing, and as you can read through, it started building itself, it's fixing its own glitches. With the latest Claude, I do find that they are smart enough to fix their own before they send everything out. The output essentially have the contract register, a dashboard tracker, escalation tracker, as we have requested for. We can preview it here, or we can just open it in Excel. Let's have a look in Excel and see how it looks like. Let me just share my screen just to go through this as well. Okay, so what it built is essentially what we needed, right? Key client information, the contract, who the person is, the contract details, the start date and end date. These are important, essentially highlighting the requirements to go back out to the market and also to approach your customers and sales. We talk about revenue forecasting and recognition, making sure that we capture all the revenue that is required. Price escalation factor, there you go. So these are the goal of the contract register, where you know that things are upcoming. You can try to negotiate or renegotiate a CPI, and how long of the term notice that is required. One pro tip which you can use essentially is to set up some automation using co-work. We can have a different demonstration. I'm using this contract register, but essentially creating a prompt to send out an email reminder of any contracts that are upcoming within 90 days. So this can be sent out to all the sales team, the operational team, or even finance, just to keep tab of the requirements. Claude also built additional stuff like a dashboard, because we said that this is for forecasting purposes. It could be good to understand who are your key clients, what's being expired, where are we at in terms of escalations. So yeah, I think overall, rather than doing this manually inputting all the time, this is a contract register which we can use immediately. More importantly, as they say, AI couldn't make the decision, right? So just make sure that you go through the contract register and validate it yourself. Look through the contracts and do some spot checking and auditing to make sure that the contracts are aligned. AI does make mistakes. However, having this starting point, at least you would have 90% of the work done within probably 2 minutes, I think, from where we started sending the prompt and the contracts, as compared to this would probably take you probably half a day to do. So yeah, that's all.